How you doing?
Fine. Just a
Good.
little, yes, a
A
little
little,
frantic today, but
yeah.
it's all okay.
It's,
Everything is great.
well, good. This is going to
Yeah.
be an easy 54 minutes. So piece of
Okay.
cake. This will be
Okay.
nice and fun. You don't have to worry about being
Oh,
frazzled. Got a
good.
bunch of really good humans here, and you are speaking to the
Okay.
choir, man. So good to see
Thank you.
you.
You
Good.
too.
Super bummer last week that I had to leave to catch that flight, but the meeting was great. To get to finally give you a hug in person was my favorite part.
That's
That
right,
was
because we hadn't met in person before.
we hadn't, no. And I always
Yeah.
forget. I always forget if I have or haven't. Like that happens, it probably happens to you quite a bit as well. Uh,
Yeah.
but man, I was just really excited to get to do that. So a lot of good humans in that room right there.
Yes. Yeah, that was really cool. That was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And so we got a lot of good humans here too. So we got moms and we got dads and we got
Okay.
campus founders and home educators and just a bunch of absolute leaders with us. So we're just going to dive into all things
Okay.
Jill and PragerU and PragerU kids and anywhere else we want to go. Fair?
Sure. I'm
Easy.
here. I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but I'm here, ready.
It's all about you, girl. And I want to make sure we talk about before they come in with some Q&A, this Independence Day ceremony and book.
Yes.
I'm so excited about this.
This is by far one of my most absolute favorite parts that, quite frankly, I think I'm a little bit too heart and soul connected to, like you know what I mean? It's a good thing, but I'm a little bit, when you feel such connection to something that you helped create and something that you helped bring to the forefront that is so special. That's what this is. It's our Independence Day ceremony. Do you have any idea what it is, or
So I do, but I want
Okay.
everybody to be able to hear. Like, give us an idea of what it is and the origination of this too. Like, where did this
Okay.
come from?
Oh, okay. I'm so excited. So bear with me, everyone, if I giggle and get, like a teenage girl. This is very exciting. What it is, and I'll start with it right here, and then I'll go into the lore, the legend of it. So this is our Independence Day ceremony, and we've made it into a book now, specifically as we march towards America's 250th birthday next year. We've made this into a book. It's a beautiful book on Amazon. It's featuring the founders who signed the Declaration of Independence. It's featuring key battles. It features, it actually has the Declaration of Independence, the Pledge of Allegiance, the national anthem, all of those original documents and sources in here for your family to enjoy, kind of like a family-friendly coffee tale book that the kids are
Mhm.
actually going to want to pick up. But at the very front of it is what we call very affectionately, our Independence Day ceremony. And essentially, this is a script that we have a very short program for any family, large or small, group of friends, whatever, to do that takes about, oh, I don't know, 8 to 9 minutes on Independence Day. And what it is, like I said, it's a script that really outlines and tells the story in a very interactive way about why we celebrate the 4th of July and why Independence Day is so important to us. And it's this little ceremony that's fashioned after a Passover Seder. Now, the great thing about the legend of this whole thing is that it was created by Dennis Prager and our CEO, Marissa Streit, many years ago, long before I got here in 2021 to help create the PragerU Kids program. So in my first months being here in 2021, I remember I was in some kind of a meeting situation. It was with Marissa, it was with maybe one or two other people who were very, part of that early PragerU Kids team. And one of them, Adrian, said to our CEO, "Hey, remember that 4th of July ceremony that you guys created all those years ago?" And Marissa, I remember she laughed and she goes, "Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that was fun." And I said, "Well, what is it?" And they explained it to me. They said, "Well, it's a little script that you can read with your family where you drink iced tea to remember the Boston Tea Party. You eat salty pretzels to remember the salty tears of the soldiers at Valley Forge, that turning point of a battle. We eat strawberries and blueberries and whipped cream to honor the red, white, and blue, courage, purity, resilience, justice. And we sing God Bless America, and we ask and answer various questions about why America is different than any other country." And I'm sitting at this table and I go, "Can you send this to me, please?"
Heck yeah.
Sure, yeah. So they go in the old files. I get this thing and they send it to me, and I remember sitting at my old computer, literally reading this very rudimentary script that Dennis and Marissa had created years ago. And I said, this is gold. We need to blow this up. I'm going to make a Craftery episode about it. Craftery is one of our PragerU Kids shows, very early on, one of our first shows. And we did a Craftery episode about it. And then the following year, we created a PDF document for parents to download and do with their own families. And everything is all free. And now it's so exciting to see this now being shared across the country. Our Secretary of Education, Linda
Mm.
McMahon, got wind of this a few months ago and was singing its praises in the press. We did this ceremony at our White House event where we launched our Founders Museum last week. So it's just so exciting. And we have a book on Amazon, and everything is free on our website, pragerukids.com. If you look up Independence Day ceremony, it puts the meaning and the purpose, because our philosophy is a nation without memory is a nation at risk. If we don't teach our children what was sacrificed, what
Mm.
the Declaration of Independence actually meant, what it meant for all of those founders to sign their name on essentially, like, think about it, a death warrant, then how are
Mm.
they going to know how important it is to be able to preserve it and honor it entering these next 250 years?
That's right. You got to attach the emotion to it. I love that so much, man. I remember we didn't talk about this thing, but first time I met Dennis was, I think, 2017, and we had a few meetings and conversations for the up until about 2020, 2021. I don't think I've spoken to him since then, but I remember talking about tradition and the importance of tying emotion to tradition for families. And I love that you talked about it as, almost like this Passover Seder, kind of thing. And why do you think ritual and remembrance matters so much in forming that patriotic identity for our kids and for our families?
Well, it's a great question. And the thing that when you ask that, I think of family traditions first and foremost.
Mm.
Like, okay, in a family, like my family, our big tradition is Friday night movie night.
Yeah,
We will not be missing a Friday night movie night unless someone has somewhere specific to be that is a dedicated commitment, related to a dance team or a recital or something like that. So the rituals that we create in our own family really bond us together, and it
mm,
creates that sense of security and love and pride and knowing that there is something special and important. And, as a mom, I often think back to some of the really good advice that I got from so many different women when I was a brand new mom, who said, create your family traditions. Don't
mm.
discount the importance of tradition, because that's what's going to make your family strong. And in the case of this declaration ceremony, when we're talking about bonding our neighborhoods and communities, and we're talking about bonding as Americans, even though many of us see things very, very differently in this
Sure.
country. I might not agree with everything that everyone says, but I'll always defend your ability to say it, freedom of speech. But I can't help but think that these traditions, to remind us that we're all Americans together, e pluribus unum, are pretty much the only thing that we can really count on to
Yeah.
bind us together, connecting our past, our present, and our future. Because everything, social media, it's here today, gone tomorrow, everything is instant gratification. No, we really need to
Mm.
be conscientious in thinking of how can we make these rituals last beyond us, so that we can continue to enjoy the freedoms beyond us, beyond our children's generation.
So well said. So well said. Couldn't agree more. You and I have had a lot of conversations around, specifically around parenting, around standards for parenting, and I've heard you, point out a lack of standards, specifically in our country with parents, and we've talked about this. Is this a part of that? Like the failing to perpetuate these traditions, and what are some of the other disconnects you are maybe seeing in your line of work when it comes to these lack of standards?
Standards is, I'm trying to think of where I can begin to not make it so
Yeah, I know.
long-winded. I get
I
Matt,
know. I get it.
the times that we've talked, listen, it is no joke. I tend to be long-winded and my kids remind me of this all the time.
Like
But
they're
let me
wicked
think about
mama.
this. Standards, I never understood how important maintaining standards were before
Mm,
I became a parent of now teenagers, right? And
mm,
here's what I'm going to say about let me take it back. Let me take it back a notch. Let's talk about the way kids dress. I'm
mm,
coming at this as a mom, right?
mhm,
So, a few years ago, during the lockdowns of 2020, my eyes were opened very widely to how corrupt and, failing, for lack of a better word, our public education system was. I never saw it before. All of you who saw it ahead of us, I give you credit. 100%. Late to the game, but here now. And so my husband and I decided to change our daughter's school to a very, very small classical education religious school, a school that was started by several homeschooling families. So our school is very rooted in this homeschool mentality. And one of the most visible standards that quite frankly shocked me when we went to the school was that they required the kids to dress in very specific uniforms. Now, a lot of schools have uniforms,
mhm,
right? I was never really a fan of uniforms. I really enjoy kids being able to express themselves. I like to express myself through clothes. But then I
mhm.
thought, okay, so we're at this school. This is their rules. We're going to, do the game. The the standards for their uniform are point blank, in my opinion, very, very strict.
Mhm,
And many argue, I'm not the only one that argues this, but many will say they're very old fashioned.
mhm,
Now, looking at this from the outside, coming from the public school system, I
mhm,
thought, what on earth could this possibly be good for? What's the purpose for this? Now I see it.
mhm,
Yes, it's a little bit strict, but to require kids in certain situations to be dressed in a certain way, to have regard and respect for themselves, to have their shirts tucked in, to know that they are dressed in a manner where their minds are ready to learn so that they can focus, so that their brains can be, um, uh, you know, uh, so that their brains can absorb, what is supposed to be coming at them so they can focus. That to me is very important. So I mean, I'm just taking this little standards of, the uniform where I
yeah,
understand, oh, it is important to have standards in specific situations so that children
yeah,
understand there's a way that I should respect myself. There's a way that I should respect you so that
yeah.
I don't show up to your organization or job or, place of employment looking like I don't care.
Mhm.
So, and I look at the way it's funny because when my kids and I are out and about now and we go, if we're driving past other schools, public schools namely, many of the kids are dressed in pajamas,
Yeah,
literal pajamas.
yeah,
And my girls will look out the window and say, "Do they not respect their school?" And I go, "I don't know, honey.
yeah,
You'd be the judge." So, certain situations
yeah.
to maintain those standards, it, and I'm not saying that as a blanket statement, but you
I
get
totally
what
get it.
you get what I'm saying. Certain standards are necessary for upholding the
Mm,
dignity and the respect and the focus that I think
so good.
everyone deserves.
It's so good. It's so good. And also, I'm going to tell you this is a place where I have changed my perspective over the last few years too. So, before I started launching campuses, the last place I worked was a Christian-based school, and there was a very strict dress code. And I was having the internal, battle, the turmoil against what I call the conveyor belt methodology of schooling.
Yes.
I know that's where the battle was, but one of the places that I pushed back was around the dress code because I think that was a place at that point where I felt like I could push back and maybe get some sort of, but I don't, now listening to what you said here, looking at the last few years, and looking at my kids, my son goes to a martial arts studio and there's a very specific dress when you go into that, like there's a very specific dress. And not only is there a specific dress to show your respect for the dojo and for your teachers, but there's also very specific dress that denotes your seniority, your ranking, your ability,
You're
right?
right. Yes, yes, yes.
And there's something interesting there. And I
Your
go back to
knowledge, your
the
knowledge.
knowledge, right? And there's a level of respect that you have shown you deserve, that you've earned through what? Holding higher standards, right? And so I look back at like JFK's like the 1962, the physical education program at La Sierra High School in Sacramento. You and I are both California natives, and
Mm-hmm.
so like looking at that program, the young men, and they wore shorts to denote their abilities and the standards there. So there is something there. There's something to that, and I've been slowly changing my mind and coming around to understanding how important that is. I love that you're talking about that. You've also spoken, and I agree with so much of what I've heard you say on this too. But you're talking about real world issues on campuses like social media,
Yes.
you know, and the utilization there. What are your thoughts on parents balancing, you know, the safeguarding of their teenagers and the social media and the phones and then specifically like on a campus, do they have the phones, do they not? Balancing that with allowing the autonomy of the human. You know, what are
Yes.
your thoughts on that?
It's hard because
So
I'll
hard.
tell you, it's really important, I think, as parents, that we really train and equip our kids to be able to handle all that's out there.
Mm,
Because if we keep them in a little protective bubble under a guise of age appropriate, you know, which I agree with, by the way. But if we
mm,
keep them in so tight of a bubble, how are we going to train them for how to navigate and deal with all of the, I'll say, all of the ugly, nonsense, damaging things that will inevitably be thrown their way. That
mm,
said, I am a big believer in not damaging my kids' brains. I'm a
mm,
big believer. All the data. I'm one of the moms that literally in 20 before I came to PragerU Kids, long before I even knew about PragerU, okay,
mm.
2016, 2017, 2018, I was working as a parenting and education reporter on one of the local Los Angeles news channels, KCBS and KCAL 9, and I had segments twice a week discussing different parenting issues that were, you know, linked to things in the news. And one of the ongoing topics that continued to come up repetitively was, of course, social media and phone use for kids. And I remember doing deep dives, wait, literally 10 years ago, into what these phones were physically doing to our children's brains. And I would go on television and say, stop giving your kid the phone. Don't give your kid the screen time. Be careful, set limits. This is a dangerous, not only is it a dangerous neighborhood that, you know, is concerning for predatory
Mhm, mhm.
situations, but it's also a very dangerous neighborhood where the science is showing us that children who are spending time on screens like this are their brains when you measure the I'm not a scientist, so forgive me if I, you know, say some gobbledygook here, but if when you measure the receptors and the reaction in their brain,
Yeah,
kids on screens is equivalent to kids being on cocaine. There was early data
yeah.
that pointed to that. So I was of the mind, you know, shouting this on television, and I would inevitably get all of these social media messages and emails saying, you need to calm down. This is part of our world. Kids need technology. Yes, but
Uh-huh.
let's not, everyone said follow the science, right? They all say follow the science.
Mm,
We need to be cognizant that now the data is even more uh, expansive in showing us that social media use truly is damaging,
yep,
physically damaging, along with mentally and emotional damage for development. It's physically
yep.
damaging children's brains. So with my own kids, here's what I've done. Nobody ever, my daughters are now 13 and 14. So middle school heading into high school.
Mm,
And nobody ever had their own iPad in my house, ever. We had one iPad. I mean, I had my laptop. My husband
yep.
had his laptop. We had one iPad, lived in either the kitchen or like the main closet area. They had to come to us and ask to check out the iPad. if they wanted to use it. We then had time parameters and of course, content parameters and all things like that. My my husband and I decided that 13 and a half was the age to introduce a, phone to our
Mm.
girls. So 13 and a half, and, husband and wives, I mean, we fight, all good marriages argue about these things. And so I wanted to get her a flip phone, and my husband said, "We're not doing that. You're psychotic. You're crazy. Like, join the world." So what we did was he got her a smartphone, completely neutered it. I have absolutely no idea how he did this. There is no internet capability. There are no apps. It's literally a communication device.
Yep.
It's connected to our devices, so we literally see everything. But we gave it to her and we said, "This phone lives in the kitchen. You do not take it to school with you as a middle schooler. You may take it to dance class
Mhm.
when I am not able to, when you're in dance class and it's, kind of your by yourself situation." So that's how it started. And then we have slowly opened up. Okay, you can take it to school on this day because I'm going to need to communicate you regarding XYZ. So we've
Mm.
slowly opened it up. There's still no internet, there's still no apps, social media, my kids know, completely off the table
Yeah.
until right now, I'm saying until 16,
Yeah.
at which point I will open the account and monitor it and then literally train her and teach her how
Yeah.
to use it in a way.
Good on you
And
guys.
yeah, and my kids know, like I pick up their phone and I read all the text messages. I said, "You know that I'm reading this." So that's the agreement.
Yep. Good for you. It's so hard. It's such an interesting thing that none of us had to, I mean, our parents didn't have to worry about this, right?
I
And so
know.
it's just there's no playbook for it, but I think you're being wildly smart. And look, the reality is that brain research you're talking about, and then not only that, and again, not a fear mongering by any stretch of the
Yeah.
imagination, but the brain research around just the EMF in general. We've been working
Yes.
with Aries Tech, who's become a partner of ours to make our campuses as EMF optimized as possible. I'm going to go very shortly and do some tests on that where they literally they're going to wire me up, test my brain while I've got the cell phone, and then put the cell phone away and show. And I'm a little bit frightened on what that's going to show. Um, I'm just a little bit frightened of anybody seeing what's going on in my brain, period. But yeah, man, I mean that stuff is real. So good on you guys for being intentional about that.
And
Uh,
that is something, and I do want to point this out too. Like as a mom and as specifically, someone who is here at PragerU Kids, I am literally with a team creating digital things for kids to watch. And so
mm,
it's interesting because I have that perspective of limit the digital use. It's,
right,
for
right,
anyone
right.
watching, know that the perspective, that is the perspective that we're coming from here at PragerU Kids. We're literally we're creating these content lines to serve as educational materials to be used in bite-sized pieces because we have the perspective that screens we have to be very, very careful with our
Yeah.
screens and our kids.
Yep. So good. And actually, I want to talk about that for a sec too. And you guys that are here live with us, if you want to start putting your hands up, I can bring you in for some Q&A here in just a sec too. But you mentioned PragerU Kids. Your team has been phenomenal. By
Oh,
the way, I've gotten to work with a handful of them here in these past few weeks, right? And everybody's just been great. You host these amazing series and Otto's Tales and Craftery and Guess or Mess.
yes.
Like so much good stuff. Like there's so much good stuff, and you obviously have either this is obvious or you're just an amazing actress, but like you have a lot of fun while you do all this stuff,
I
right?
do
Like
have fun. It's fun. It is.
totally,
I'm not going to complain.
yeah.
Any organization that wants to pay a middle-aged woman to read stories and lead fun activities for kids, how could I ever complain about that? It is one of the most unforeseen blessings of my life. No joke.
For sure. It's got to be. And you guys, and it's so good. And that's part of it too, is you just have so much fun, but it's so good too. And what's cool is there are districts that are starting to adopt so much of the curriculum too, right? Like we're working with the team to put together a catalog of resources for all of our affiliates too. And
Oh,
this is
good.
this is great. Like we're gonna like we're putting that in every one of our affiliates, as much as they want to integrate all this. But there's state like Florida and some of the other states that have started to integrate that too, right? So what's been the response from educators, and what are the stories you're hearing from families using, that content to create their home learning situations.
Sure. So far to date, this is the end of June 2025. So I'll timestamp this. We currently have 10 states that we are partnered with to supply non-mandatory supplemental materials in the form of videos, books, and worksheets and lesson plans for
Mhm.
various states: Florida, Arizona, Idaho, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, Montana, Texas. I'm missing one. I'm missing one. I think I'm
So
missing
good.
one. Anyhow, we're excited about that. It's been a project that's been going on for a year plus. And Louisiana, that's the other one.
Okay.
And I'll share with you from Louisiana last year, actually, when we introduced our materials as part of their supplemental non-mandatory resources that teachers across the state can use specifically for Constitution Week. We went to a teacher summit, an educator summit in Louisiana to show them what materials we have for Constitution Week, because I mean, across the nation, most schools teach Constitution Week, it's the week of September 17th. In Louisiana, they have an outlined week that I believe they call Freedom Week, where they
Mm,
really focus on civics and the Constitution across grade levels. And so what we did was we took all of our resources and we made what we called this constitutional crosswalk. And this is something that maybe you're interested in too,
mm,
that is a document outlining outlining the different branches of government, how our system of government is set up, Bill of Rights, so on and so forth, and created clickable video links so that whatever topic the teacher wanted to focus on that day or
mm,
week, it was they could go to the document and click click click, and there it is. And the reality is that all of our materials, with the exception of the books that
right.
that are
Right.
for sale on Amazon, hard copy books, all of our materials on our website are free.
Mhm.
So they are free for parents, teachers, whoever. But what we found in that educator summit, when we went and we actually gave them this, guide, so to speak, that we compiled, the teachers were it, it was so heartwarming. They were so excited because they're sitting there looking at us and they say, "You don't understand how badly we need this kind of stuff. We are given these state standards, we're given these directives, but they're not giving us the materials and the nitty-gritty for how to actually implement it." And when they're getting these guides and it's click, 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 and there you go, and it's free. They were so excited, and
Mm.
which makes us even more excited, and it just it just lights a wonderful fire for everybody. And it's something that we're really thankful for and we're really proud of, to be able to give to teachers. In New Hampshire specifically, they were seeking some kind of educational options for to teach financial literacy. And so we
Mm.
particularly partnered with them with our financial literacy course called Cash Course, that's on our website,
Mm.
pragerukids.com. But we partnered with New Hampshire to be able to give high school credits should interested
Mm.
students be able to complete our cash course program that
Mm.
the state of
So
New
needed.
Hampshire outlined. So, things like that are just really encouraging, and we're big fans of educational freedom. So
Yes.
anytime states come to us with through this lens of wanting to expand their educational freedom, we're right there. We're on board. We have what you need.
It's so good, man. It is so that was one of the most encouraging pieces of our meeting last week is all of the conversation around how do we give credit, the things that are needing this particular credit assigned to it. How do we give credit to programs like this that matter so much? How do we encourage organizations like Apogee and like others to create their own accreditation process and make sure that's okay, right? And so that
Yeah.
we're getting us like all of those things are so necessary for the freedom of families to do what they want to do and need to do to educate their own. I mean, that's
Yeah.
yeah, and again, that's how that meeting started was, hey, we want to not only put this back in the hands of the states, we want to put it back in the hands of the states because we want to put it back in the hands of the families and the parents who are the primary educators. And you guys are such a huge part of that entire push for the nation, man. That's so freaking exciting.
Thank you. Well, you are too. And I always like to quote I call her one of the original homeschool gurus, Sam Sorbo. It took me a long
Yeah.
time to unschool myself. Sam
Yeah.
Sorbo taught me that phrase,
Yeah.
unschool yourself. And
Yep.
the I hate to use the word school
Yeah.
system, but the system, the organization that you've created
Mm.
to be able to give parents that authority to really just,
Mm.
hone in on what their children need to be able to excel in the long run. I mean, it's really remarkable.
There's
And
a
so
lot of good.
we're following your lead in many ways.
There's a lot of good people doing a lot of good things, man. So it's really exciting. Yeah, and I remember, I'm going to take a little bit of credit for that for Sam too, because I remember talking with her years ago and just going, "All right, girl, let's get you. You're almost there. You're teetering, like you're right about there." And now she's full blown, like, let's get at it. So rad, man. All right, let's get a couple of these awesome humans coming here. Mr. Winslow, good to see you, sir.
Hello, it's great to see you. Hi, Jill. Nice to meet you.
Hi,
Thank
nice
you for
to
being
meet
here.
you.
Uh,
Sure.
I have a question. I wanted to go to the topic of screens, and I have a 14-year-old daughter. She goes between two homes, and I've not been an excellent parent here for sure. Um,
Don't say that. I
I have
trust me.
not,
I
but
have my
it's
awful
honest.
moments, as I call them.
But we've been talking about. I've seen changes in her when we've set some rules, and so I want to continue. And I'm trying to figure out how to help her lead her to water because I know World War III will start here in my house if I take it away. But I have a little control, and I have her ear. And so now that she trusts me and we're doing some things, I want to go further because I know this will help. Any suggestions that you have would be great. I'd love to hear them.
Mm.
Okay, so I'll say that fear not about World War III beginning in your home because I have personally experienced countless World War IIIs in my own home regarding this topic. Whenever I share my story, I hesitate to share it because I never want it to be misinterpreted like, oh, there's zero conflict at home and her
Sure.
children are all on board and everyone is harmonious and no one yells. Heck
There goes,
no. I yell, they yell, we all
there
yell,
goes my
and
whole
then
belief system.
and we love each other. And, I blame it on my Armenian heritage. I'm just loud half the time when I'm talking. My kids say, "Why are you yelling?" I go, "No, I'm not yelling. I'm talking because I mean it." So that said, my biggest advice would be stay the course with what you know is right. I think it's really challenging, especially in this day and age, to be, gosh, I don't know how to say this diplomatically. It's really hard in this day and age to be a hard ass parent,
Mhm.
and
Oh yeah.
it's hard to be strict and personally speaking, between my husband and I am admittedly the much more strict parent. And many times he says, "You know what? You need to lay off." And he's right many times. And we do that dance, and I listen to him when I really think that he's noticing something that I'm blind to witnessing. But stay the course. And with my 14-year-old daughter, every kid is different, obviously. With my 14-year-old daughter, what I have really tried to do lately is to be extra to really communicate with her a little bit extra when I notice that there's a positive change. For instance, if she is on the phone and I notice her put it in the spot in the kitchen of her own free will, and then she goes, in her room, or she goes to the backyard, or she goes somewhere else, I'll say, I noticed you put your phone down. That was really mature. I'm really like
Yeah.
that I need to work on
Mhm.
that myself. So
Mhm.
that's kind of what I've been trying. It seems to encourage them. At least for my daughter, it seems to encourage her, like, oh, mom's seeing that I'm, kind of taking responsibility and doing the right thing. I don't know. That's all
Good. It's really good. It's
Love it.
really good.
I
And
love
we've
it.
got, I mean, so we got three people here that have 14-year-old daughters, right? So we all three of us
wow.
have all three of us have 14-year-old girls right now. So I think Eric, to you, there's been, and again, this is my experience. There's been a lot of progress anytime I've gone. hey, especially with my 14-year-old, because she didn't get the benefit of having anybody else come before her, right? She's the oldest. So I've told her, you're our therapy baby. Like, you're going to be the one that's got the most issues 100% across the board. So there's always a lot of good response when I go, hey, here's what mom and I just found out, and I think we might have made a mistake. And this is with this, we've never parented a 14-year-old before. We've never parented a 13-year-old before, however old she was, right? This is where I think we potentially made a mistake. So we're finding all of this, research on how the brain, responds to. So like, we'll just flat out, like, no trying to parentese it. It is
Yeah.
just, here's where we may have blown it, because this is what we just found
Yeah.
out, right? So, man, now that we're doing this, we're trying to figure out. I don't use the word rules with my kids as much as I use left and right boundaries, and it's never a for them, it's for all of us,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's always a thing. Mom and dad fall into the same category as you on almost everything. It just
You
helps
know,
Yeah.
ability. Sorry, Jill.
yeah, oh no, 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 that's okay. I was going to jump in because it entered my mind and I thought this might be helpful too. You know what I've also started doing is in my own Instagram feed, I will see videos that come up of scientists or authors or people talking about the actual data. And
Mhm.
then I'll say, hey, can you come here? I want to show you something. This just popped up.
Mhm.
And it's sort of using they're not going to listen to me because I'm the
Right.
mom, but oh, if someone else
Right.
says it, then all of a sudden, I'm not the lying mom about the
Totally.
data regarding what
Yeah.
happens to your
Yeah.
Totally.
All right. I love
Totally.
it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Hopefully that stuff helps, Eric.
Super. Super.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's great. I love it. Thank you.
You bet, brother.
Good luck.
Really
Godspeed.
good.
I say Godspeed to all of us.
To all of us. Yeah. No, man. But really good question. Really good question. All right. A fellow North Carolinian, my man Mikey T. How you doing, sir?
Good, good. Jill, thank you so much. This is awesome. So as a public face of an against the grain education style, like what is some of the most common pushback you get and criticism that you get? Because like I'm gonna be a campus owner this fall and like we're definitely going against the grain and I'm just curious what to expect as we grow.
Well, for me personally, being here at PragerU, for some inexplicable reason, the biggest criticism, I guess, or it's not criticism. I classify it more of as an attack. The biggest attacks that myself, as well as some the rest of us here or who are outward facing at PragerU, the biggest attack that many of us experience is that our love for unifying patriotism in education is not inclusive. It's big, it's viewed in their opinion as being bigoted or fill in the blank with any adjective you want, right? And that to me is just very, I don't understand it because the perspective with how we create our content is listen, there are all, if you're looking at I call it like the rest of the world or the rest of the education system. The rest of the education system, public schools specifically, union run public schools, quite frankly, are obsessed with sexual orientation of children, gender ideology, teaching children about pronouns and, every single controversial thing that, quite frankly, are adult topics and not children's topics. And, they're obsessed with eradicating merit. They're obsessed with nobody gets a trophy if you happen to, go above and beyond and win the game. You don't need a trophy. Everyone gets a trophy. So the biggest criticism that we endure because we want to teach, our goal at PragerU Kids is to teach children that we are all Americans. We are equal under God. We are all capable of anything we put our mind to. We have equal opportunity. And all of those little subcategories that you may feel like you're a part of, do not look at yourself a victim. Do not look at yourself as a quote unquote marginalized person. Whereas the public schools, the union run public schools, educational bureaucracy is obsessed with putting kids into these victimhood, marginalized mentalities. And we don't believe in that. And at first, the first time I think I was accused of being non-inclusive or bigoted in some way, it really shook me. And
Mhm.
I got so infuriated by it because it's literally the opposite of everything I believe. And I was so angry. And now at this point, anytime someone wields that at me, I literally laugh. And maybe I'm desensitized to it now, but I just say, you know what? That is not the way. That is not the way to educate children. That is not the way to create a healthy environment. And no matter what you tell me, I know that that is a false lie. So I'm not going to let it bother me anymore. So whatever, now, I don't think that those types of accusations will be wielded at you, but the best advice I can give is whatever false accusations or lies or misconceptions that people try to cite as fact against your methods or against the educational freedom that you're really trying to uplift is to just ignore them and stay the course because um, you're doing something right.
Mm.
No, and I appreciate that because that was going to be my follow-up question is how you responded to that. And that's exactly it. We're just standing for who we are and not backing down at all. So I appreciate your time today.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, that's really good, Mikey. And that, and Christian Mandela, I see the comment in there. He put this, I'm going to read it right here because it's short. He sent me this poem the other day. It's called No Enemies. And it says, "You have no enemies, you say. Alas, my friend, the boast is poor. He who is mingled in the fray of duty that the brave endure must have made foes. If you have none, small is the work you have done. You've hit no traitor on the hip. You've dashed no cup from perjured lip. You've never turned the wrong to right. You've been a coward in the fight.
Mm.
You're going to have people who are upset.
Mm-hmm.
Period. End of story. Right? You
Mm-hmm.
stand for something. You're going to have somebody who opposes. When and I love what you said there. That I do think there may be, and I know you kind of jokingly said it, but I feel like at least I resonate with it, like the desensitization to it all.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
you just get used to people being mad and used to people hearing what they want to hear no matter what, right? And assigning something to that. So that does become a thing that you just have to learn to deal with, to compartmentalize, to ascribe a meaning to, whatever that looks like. You just end up having to kind of do that, right? Do you find yourself more often ignoring or seeking to invite dialogue, or does it just kind of depend on the situation? Just you personally.
If personally,
Yeah.
this is my rule. If I'm in person with someone face to
Yeah.
face, I will seek friendly dialogue.
Sure.
I will say, now, wait a second. I don't see it that way because of XYZ. And then I'll ask questions. And, inevitably, either, you have a conversation. If on when it comes to social media, if I know the person,
Mhm.
I will sometimes respond in a comment if I
Mhm.
know the person in real life. Social media is one of those mediums that I know that people will aim to engage in dialogue on social media. My default is really not to engage because to me, how can you have a productive conversation on a one line, keyboard warrior situation? Like to me, it doesn't help anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I mean, and maybe I am too, but I would tend to agree. And I know that's been a process of learning, um, you know, in the making.
mhm.
It really has been. And the last couple of months, I've even, if somebody has what seems to be maybe an interesting point, or they seem like a good person, from a quick check, they seem like a good person who's maybe just misunderstanding, and I understand maybe why. I've invited a handful, just like, hey man, do you want to set up a quick like 15-minute Zoom? I'm down,
Oh,
just to have like
wow.
an actual conversation. Like let me see if I can help you out on that. Nobody's taken me up on that yet, but and I don't think that's a best practice and anything I want to set myself up to continue to do. But yeah, it's an interesting world we have to navigate here with this culture. You mentioned the teachers unions, and again, I'm not going to, we don't need to take a bunch of time to bash them, but I will say, I don't know if you got a chance to drive by the NEA building while you were out in DC.
No, I did
Moly,
not.
girl, from the front of the building, like the entire building, as you drive by the front, it is literally just like, I mean, there was rainbows everywhere about,
Right.
all the pride, this and that, and again,
Mhm.
to each their own, but
Right.
this is the NEA. This is the largest teachers union that we have. Everything was pride. There were signs up of stop Asian hate, Black Lives Matter, say yes to our Indian friend. Like it was everything. What something about sexuality. Like I drove by
Mhm.
and I just kind of did a double take and I just went, yeah, that's about it. That's it.
And
I didn't see anything about education.
right. And the crazy thing is this. So listen, I am a big believer, always have been since I literally was a kid. Time is our greatest resource.
Mhm.
Stick with me. I'm going somewhere on this. Time is our greatest resource. And whenever I see something like you described,
Mm.
where they're saying, stop this, do this, da, 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 all these different individualized, separated initiatives, that takes a lot of time, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Isn't it more, doesn't it make much more sense if we all agree that, hey, the United States, and this is just an example, an idea. The United States flag is perhaps the most inclusive one in the world because it represents every single ethnicity, every single heritage, every single sexual orientation, whether regardless of, anyone's individual thoughts about anything. Our United States flag literally was created to include
Mhm.
everyone. So why would we waste all sorts of time compartmentalizing, individualizing, making everyone feel like a victim, all these different groups, when you can just say, hey, we honor everyone together. And that's the
Right.
end of the story.
Right. And you're asking the key question. Why would you take the time? Why? And really pull on that string and see where that goes. Man, no, really, really good. David, you're going to get the last one in here, sir, because we want to make sure we stay on time. So you get the last one from inside. There you go, brother. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you guys too. We talked about the lack of traditions, eroding standards. We all, as people that are obviously on a mission, we have a lot of people starting schools and making impacts. My question is this: what is the one standard would you recommend a family implement that would be the launching point into the battle for their youth in the education market?
Hmm.
This is such a good question.
Hmm.
Oh, I need to think. The one standard. I I'm going to go with, listen, I am not an official credentialed teacher, but I am going to go with learning to read and literacy. I
Mm-hmm.
think, everything I've learned here in the last 4 years from our in-house credentialed educators, everything I've learned from my own sister, who is a credentialed teacher in one of the very few non-unionized school districts in California. She's a fabulous teacher. My mom was a teacher. My grandma was a teacher. The one thing that I really have learned over the course of my life and concentrated here is the importance of literacy, that children it is non-negotiable. They must learn how to read. They must learn comprehension skills, because we have so many kids now. You look at the data. I think it was the NAEP, the National Assessment of Educational Progress. The data over the past several years shows that I think not even one half of students uh, can be considered proficient in
Mm-hmm.
literacy. And that's a problem. If someone cannot read and really absorb the knowledge and the information as it is outlined on a page, that I think is the number one blockade to obtaining
Mm-hmm.
real knowledge and an education. So focus on literacy. And that's one reason why this is actually not a planned segment. That's one reason why we are creating more books.
Yeah.
PragerU, this is our new book for middle school readers. It's called The Tip Off. The Chronicles of Jonathan Spencer. It's about a kid, a misfit who wants to play basketball and perseverance in his whole story. And it's really very good. It's brand new on Amazon. But that's one of the reason why we have really focused our efforts the last several months in creating books, more books. We love our videos. We're famous for our short videos, educational videos, but we're really focusing on efforts on books because we're realizing that our children need to learn how to read. We have to get them back reading in order to combat this problem.
Good. Yeah, and I tell you, Mr. Bryson, that is the priority in our house on anything we do from an academic side. It is the number one thing, and it's the battle there. Just for everybody listening, my 2 cents is not the do you go sight words versus phonics? By the way, you go phonics, but it's not. That's not the thing that's killing it the most. What's killing it the most is that we are killing the love of it. We are destroying the love of it, and so all of those things that she's mentioned, and the people wanting to be voracious readers and the comprehension and all that, it comes from curiosity and it comes from enjoyment and it comes from allowing the books to do the things they're meant to do, which is to change our lives and give us something else to implement, right? And so if we can save the love of reading that kids naturally have as a default setting, we're going to be in a better spot, man. So yeah, I love that standard. It's a great question, Mr. Bryson.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Really, really good. All right, my friend. I know we're coming up on time, so we'll just do the last three that we always ask. One, the projects. What are you working on right now that you're most excited about, that you want to make sure you mention? Where does everybody find you? And how do we, most importantly, how does Apogee support Jill? Not just PragerU, but Jill.
Oh, don't worry about Jill. Jill's hanging in there. Thank you. Well, I will say that, we welcome Apogee to use any and all of our materials as you see fit at any time. We're here for you. PragerUkids.com. If you need something, if you're looking for something, if you can't find something, or if you say, hey, we at Apogee actually want to create an XYZ program. What do you got, or what can you make? Let us know about that, because we really are obsessed with serving the needs of real people, real families, real educators. So come to us with that. Where anyone can find me, I'm on Instagram mostly at Jill Simonian. I'm sometimes on X, but mostly on Instagram. The website is PragerUkids.com for all of the shows, kindergarten through 12th grade. And as far as what we're working on now, I think what we're most excited about is really coming out of our big White House event that happened last week. We launched this beautifully one-of-a-kind interactive museum. It's an educational museum of sorts in the Eisenhower Executive Office Building in the White House, to celebrate America 250. And we launched this Founders Museum detailing the signers of the Declaration of Independence, key figures of the American Revolution, where you scan a QR code and the picture opens up and it's a talking Martha Washington, or I'm Martha Washington, by the way, if you find us online on our website, or a talking Ben Franklin, a talking George Washington, explaining the time of the American Revolution. We launched that museum exhibit last week, and it's really just the tip of the iceberg for what we're going to be doing in the next coming year, partnering with the White House to celebrate America 250. We've got a lot of ideas that we're beginning to develop, a lot of different events that the White House will be putting on that we will likely be involved with to really celebrate our 250th birthday. To steal the words of one of the gentlemen in that domestic policy meeting that you were also in, Matt, we want to allow families, particularly young people, to fall in love with the story of America again. So that's what we're working on. So excited about it. So much more to come on that front in the coming months.
So good, and doing such a good job with it. The best, I don't take compliments well, but one of the best compliments that I've always remembered, Seth Godin said, hey, you're doing work that matters. And anytime I get a chance, that is a compliment I want to pay forward. So I got to tell you, my friend, and I know you know it, but you are doing such important work. It matters. It matters so much. And you're doing it really, really well. So honored to have you here with us. Honored to partner with PragerU in any way, in every way. Honored to call you a friend, and just so grateful. Appreciate you.
Back at you. Likewise. Back at you all the way. Thank you so much.
You're the best. I will reach out to you. I'm going to keep these people on and do a little debrief action, but we'll let you get out of here and go do your thing. I'll shoot you a message here in a little bit and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. All right. See ya.